Munich, who, as you said, are eyeing up Florian Wirtz like they do every big player that comes through at any club in the Bundesliga. And those big players almost inevitably all join them. So that's one story. But there is other bits and bobs going on around Bayern. Sané, Jonathan Tah links as well. Talk to us about Bayern at the moment.
Yeah, Bayern it was kind of expected a little bit that they'd just do this Sané renewal, but he didn't. Not only did he not take the renewal offer, he then switched agents to Pini Zahavi, a player, a super agent that's well known, who then came back with a counter proposal as well. So he's playing hardball, which was not in the Max Eberl, Christoph Foyne playbook or desire at all. So that is a little bit troubling for Bayern at the moment, trying to do that. It's important to say that agent change in the Sané situation has thrown a bit of a spanner in the works, mainly as they want to carefully manage funds so they can get Wirtz through the door, don't they? That's their top target, of course, but that certainly ain't going to be cheap. And Leverkusen aren't going to let him go for nothing by any means. They've got to manage that. They're also trying to, now that Eric Dyer is off to Monaco, that legendary centre-half, off to another big European location, Jonathan Tah, who is on a free, and they're looking at him as a shorter-term option. The only other issue, though, that they've got is there were Barcelona, and so are Real Madrid looking at Tah, even as a shorter-term option if needs be. He's all of a sudden a very average centre-half. He's in a very strong position, but Bayern are also not able just yet to get rid of Koeman as they're trying to as well. They're trying to make a lot of things happen, Bayern. Ultimately, they're trying to get Florian Wirtz through the door. But them books have got to be balanced, haven't they? And it's just not quite proving as easy as they hoped it would be at this stage. Plenty of time to go, obviously, a whole summer to go. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Tell me you saw Tommy Muller's stand-up routine on the pitch in front of the fans. My God, that lad, that's tremendous work. We have a couple of other stories before we wrap. We'll start with Napoli. And what I like about this one is it's a link to two players who Liverpool have had connections to. One, a little bit of a cheeky one and a little bit of a manifestation for some. And the other, a little bit of what people might have considered a consolation prize and someone that they'd have seen during the season. So it's not just Napoli, though. There are other people interested as well. Talk to us about Napoli and the spin-off from that with the two players in question.
Yeah, Napoli in the substance or the style they normally do it, trying to recruit the great midfielders of the Premier League like Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmore are now trying to get, aren't they, Kevin De Bruyne on a free transfer that way as well. So I think it's well established, this link, that they're also, it's important to say, the only major European club or a Champions League club that's out there with De Bruyne at the moment that we know has been reported. So it will be interesting to see if he's attracted by that one at all, but they're certainly in for him. And the other players, quite a few have reported they're certainly in for a player that a lot thought would end up in the Premier League, and maybe he still does, but the little striker, Jonathan David, a lot of people expected him to end up, didn't they? Just all go to a free. He'll be that attractive. But Napoli are the only ones that have been officially reported as having an offer on the table for Jonathan David. So in a way, you've got to respect Napoli's business a little bit, aren't they? They could be two good pickups, if you want to call it that, on a free for them. So be an interesting one. Kevin De Bruyne with mad Tony Conte and mad syphilis-ridden Antonio De Sanchez. Not my words, factual medical evidence, as he's admitted himself before. So it could be an interesting mix, but imagine that double pivot, Trev, of the classy De Bruyne and McTominay, eh?
Yeah, I saw some footage of them during the week, and it's just hard to see it as anything other than a Premier League player's retirement home at the moment. And I don't know, and that's not to be. I don't mean that to sound judgmental at all, but there was a slow motion goal that was scored with McTominay assist to their striker. Chelsea, Everton. Who's the guy?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. My mind's going blank. But the whole thing happened in slow motion. It was just like, oh. So maybe that could be the perfect move. Maybe that could be.
Expand on this. Let me expand on this because you'll love it. I nearly forgot. I know you love this story from last summer as well.
Go on.
McTominay's misses and the Ponzi scheme.
Oh, yeah.
No one expects McTominay back in the UK for a good period anyway, because his missus and her dad pleaded guilty or accepted like a plea deal. Is that what they call it? You know, when they get a certain penalty and all this. And his missus is banned from being a director. McTominay paid her fee as well for that. So, like, yeah, Scott McTominay now and his missus have got certain rules about whether they could operate businesses in the UK. So something tells me Scott McTominay might well be settled in Naples for a little while yet.
Yeah, his missus has sold Tupperware to half of the Premier League or something like that. We'll finish off with a couple of stories then to get us out of here. Lyon is first, and then we'll talk about some manager situations in Spain. But first up, this Lyon situation. And what's interesting is the knock-on effect it might have on some of their players, one of which we know there was a strong Reds link to. Whether it was real or not, it was real in the media's opinion. So tell us the Lyon story, and then we'll go to managers in Spain.
Yeah, Lyon, I mean, we've mentioned their financial troubles. They're not hidden, are they? I mean, there's a real threat. They could be relegated. But at the moment, as it stands, they pretty much need snookers to get Champions League qualification. And obviously, they won't get those finances. Everyone knows about John Textor, who, by the way, is now caring that much about Lyon. He's trying to launch a bid to buy Palace again for a third time. So he's in the mix there. So essentially, as a lot of French reporters are saying, and the Uber Eats deal, the sponsorship, the TV thing's gone a bit amiss as well. Lyon will sell players. Basically, they're looking like they'll have to sell players, especially when they miss out on the Champions League. So when that happens, which name gets thrown into the mix as the new Marco Reus, the new Simão Sabrosa, the name that comes round all the time, Rayan Cherki. I mean, how many times has he been linked with Premier League clubs? It might well happen because, don't get me wrong, someone will look at this guy and think, do you know what? Can we really do better for like 17 million quid nowadays and that creativity? And we take an educated punt on this. But yeah, Lyon could just be one, as this is important to say, and I wanted to shape it that way. French clubs, Trev, because there's a lot of uncertainty with this TV deal collapsing. There's only one PSG in France. A lot of the other clubs are kind of not hand to mouth, but aside from your Monacos and things like that, it's just important to consider. So don't be surprised if there's a lot of French talents or talents from French clubs graded this summer.
Cool. Good to know. And we will get to this manager story, but just a word. Yeah, I see the comment in the thing in the chats there. I literally said, I didn't want to sound arrogant at all. That was a slow motion goal from Scott McTominay to Lukaku. Yeah. And it just looked kind of comical. It shouldn't have been a goal. The pass was a bit odd. The finish was a bit odd. The keeper's all over the place. I said it looked like a Premier League retirement home. I'm quite aware of where they are in the league.
I'll say it trickled in. I'm pretty sure the keeper stopped for like a cigar and a croissant halfway through. Like, it wasn't being arrogant. It was just quite comical in the way it was like a Happy Gilmore put, wasn't it? Like,
exactly.
That was all it was.
It looked like a Premier League return home. That was the whole point. Last story is the manager situation in Spain. And we're fairly certain that Alonso is going to be in situ for this hugely important competition. And that will mean, obviously, that, as you said, Don Carlo will have moved on to his reported job with the Brazil national team. Is there anything else going on there around managers? I heard as well that Mr. Atletico is now the longest-serving manager. Is that correct in the top flight?
Yeah, the crazy man himself. Yeah, absolutely. So it's just a bit mental, the manager situation, because the season's not even over. Everyone knows Don Carlo's going to be Brazil manager. Everyone knows Xabi Alonso's coming in. Everyone knows Xabi Alonso's already speaking to Florentino Perez about his targets and what he wants in that regard. And all this, we've got to bring the Lever boys into this. Barcelona have provisionally offered an extension to Hansi Flick because of how well he's done, hasn't he? You know, all right, he missed out in the semi-finals, but he's going to win the league. Obviously, he's revitalised Barcelona. I love this, Trev. I love the Lever boys. They've offered a contract to him provisionally on the basis they can free up the finances in the summer. So as long as they can find the Lever, the contract's yours. Yeah. Spain manager hijinks are well underway.
Tremendous. And that's a good spot for us to finish. But we don't normally just go out on a hard out. There's usually at least one thing that you've been holding in reserve or a hot take that you've got to give. So I'm going to give you the floor and see if there is anything you want to finish on, even if it's just to further flesh out something that we've talked about already.
It almost goes back to last week and what we said about the difference between what's been previously and not to be critical of him at all, but Jurgen Klopp having ultimate reign over Liverpool's transfer policy and how it's being seen nowadays. It's important to say contingencies. Liverpool, they're intelligent operators. They're smart enough to think it's going to be really difficult to get Isak, an Alvarez, a Rodrigo. Of course, they know that at the same time. That is why you're also seeing names like Sesko, TK. We also talked about you before a few weeks ago around they've looked at the option of could you get a wide man who can play in the middle and, have options that Liverpool are looking at so many contingencies in that regard. And I'll go back to what I said to you 3 weeks ago, and I keep saying it. The only thing I would bet for certain on Liverpool's forward line right now is Darwin Núñez is gone and gone early. That is the only thing I would say that I'm confident and certain of.
You're confident and certain that he will be receptive to the Saudi request. That's the information that you have, is that his camp and he are happy to make that move.
Yeah, and it's important to say as well, it's a good shout in full context, happy to make that move, but also Darwin Núñez wants out of Liverpool. Liverpool want Darwin Núñez gone so they can start their summer and get the attacking business done. So it's just a question of how quickly everyone can be satisfied.
Just before we go, can we do a minute of manifestation where we get Darwin to Atletico and Alvarez coming back the other way? There we go. DJ, baby. Let's do it. Right, we will wrap this one up. It's been another enjoyable show. Nice to have the interactions with you in the chat box. Hope you enjoyed watching live. Quite a lot of you. Nice to see. It's very heartening indeed. And we'll be back with you, no doubt, within a couple of days because it's that time of the year. So from me, take care.